Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Today is what? The 10th of April, and it is Thursday. We are that much closer to Friday, y'all. That's good. Good news, good news. If you're new to the channel, hello, hi, and welcome in. Welcome in. My name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. And if you're a returning Titan coming back for another round, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So how's everybody's Thursday going? It was pretty boring for me. It's a pretty boring Thursday for me. I was going to come on earlier and do a live because I was just like really, I was like bored. Let me check my audio really quick. Do I have, nope. Okay, now I'm on there. Okay, so you can probably hear me a lot better now. Okay. Look at that, 23 months. Look at that. Time flies when you're having fun, Catherine. Thank you for being a member for so long and being a part of the channel. Wow, 23 months. That's a long time. A lot of you guys have been here for a long time. I think everyone actually in the chat's been here for a long time. But it's exciting. I've been seeing a lot of new names too, so that's exciting, you know. Can't beat that when you got some new people coming in as well. But yeah, I love that. Look at that, 23 months. Man, that's almost 2 years with somebody. You must really like me, Catherine. That makes me feel good. And I really like you, and I'm glad you're here with us in the chat. I was going to say something. I can't remember what I was going to say earlier. Don't even need to say it. Don't need to say it, I guess. Hey, Boone. Hey, Villanova Law. How you doing? How you doing, Ladybug? I saw Mary Beth was in here too. I got both of you guys. Happy Friday Eve. I bet you're excited. Mary Beth's probably really excited. Hey, Reba. Hey, Willows. Hey, Michael. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Princess. She's here. Hey, Wizard. Can't stay. Just wanted to pop in and say hi to my favorite true crime channel and chat. Aw. Well, hopefully whatever you're doing is fun. I bet it's fun. I bet you're eating ice cream or something with the grandkids. Or you have a daughter. Is it a daughter or son? I know it's one or the other. I know you have a kid. I know you have a kid that brings you good food. Now I want to know what he's doing. Now I'm being nosy. I'm like, what's he doing? I hope he has a great night. I bet he's with family. I bet he is. Hey, Ange. Hey, Sailor Outlaw George. You've been here since the beginning. You watched the whole hearing again. It was a long day yesterday. Hey, Jenny. Hey, DM. Let me tell you, I'm still tired today. Hey, Stephanie. I was going to lay down, take a little nap, sneak a nap in. Didn't get to. Vincent came home. The classic one, welcome in. Which I could have, I could have went back to sleep. But once he was home, I was kind of up. So, hey, Stephanie. Welcome on in. Hey, Wandering Orphan. I didn't. I mean, I did, but I don't know. I have to look on my phone. But I'll look on my phone here in just a moment. For some reason, it's not on my computer. My emails aren't set up on my computer yet. I've had this since January. I know, I'm bad. I need Vincent to hook it up. I don't know how to hook my email up to it. So and I never check my phone. I need to do that. I was just reading the chat. Sorry. Hey, Phantom. Nope, no catnap. I thought that's a catnip for a minute. I was going to say, how did you know that? Because I did run out of catnip, and I'm like, uh-oh. I was checking for it at Target last night. They didn't have any. I'm like, I need to get my catnip. He loves it. I just like him to be happy. Yeah, I'm going to show it to you right now, Catherine. Yeah. Can you believe? What is wrong with people? What in the world? I got it. Don't worry. It's the first thing on my tab list to show you guys. It's so crazy. It is just it's incredibly insane. And so I don't know who this lady is, but I think I do because we got her name, but I couldn't find her on Facebook. I looked everywhere. I didn't look everywhere. I typed her name in and this one person came up, but it was a different person with the name. And I was trying to match up pictures and it wasn't the same person. So she is kind of trending though, it looks like on Facebook right now. So I guess a lot of people are looking into her, but I want to show you this. So there's a lady that was sitting behind Brian Kohlberger during the court proceedings yesterday. I don't know if she was in there for the first half or what, but you'll see, I'm going to show you a picture here in a minute when we read through this article. And she's not there in the picture, but she's sitting there and she's all by herself. And she is making a heart shape like this directly behind Brian Kohlberger. This woman is probably in her, I don't know, I'd say 60s. Maybe, I mean, I'm not good with ages, but what are you doing? And then I'm going to give you the reason why she said she did it. But this is her. Picture's grainy, because someone zoomed in and got the picture. This woman looks really small. Look how small she looks. She looks teeny tiny lady. And that's not his mom. That's not his mom. Apparently, and I don't know if this is her or not, because this picture doesn't even look like her really here to me. I mean, but this is what's floating around on the interwebs. So I'm bringing it to y'all. Take this picture with a grain of salt because, I mean, you never know. Someone could crop a picture, but I don't think they cropped her in there. She doesn't look like she's been cropped in or anything. She looks like she was sitting there. I've matched it up these chairs behind Kohlberger and to the pew and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, she was in there giving hearts. But the cop was right here. Right to her left, or well, it would be our left if we're looking at her. So that cop was standing right there, remember? And then he was sitting he stood I think for a few hours, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. I can't remember when he actually sat down, but I remember seeing him standing in the beginning. So then this was on one of the Facebook groups. I I've been on, okay, so I have covered Idaho 4 since like November 15th or 16th of 2022. I've never gotten on the Facebook groups. I don't know why I never did. I've never been really one of those people that go to the Facebook groups for like information and stuff. Because I don't know, maybe it's because it's just so many people are on there and anybody can say anything about anything. So I just usually don't even, go there. But I did sign up for them today. There is 3 of them that I saw, and I try to I try to join them because they're all private. So you can't see anything unless you're like they let you join anyway. So I had the join out button. So we'll see. But it says that her name is Rochelle Boring. Rochelle. And this picture doesn't really look like the lady, though. But this is the picture that they're saying on Twitter this is the post. So it says, I was sending the heart to my 13-year-old son, but apparently Steve G had to show the security. So when I left, 5 officers met me outside. So lame. And Christy gave me the dirtiest looks I have ever seen. So apparently they think I love Brian. Too bad they were on social media instead of paying attention to the hearing. I doubt they were on social media. So I'm going to put that. I'm going to say that's highly unlikely. So I don't know if this is who this lady is. I think she's just a little nutty. If it's the same lady, I don't know if it's even the same lady. I think both of these ladies, whichever one, I think the lady with this message is a little nutty. Because I'm going to tell you, Steve Gonzalez was not in the courthouse or in the courtroom on his cell phone, posting on social media. They would be kicked out of the courtroom and he wouldn't be able to sit there for the trial. He knows what the stakes are, right? You know what I mean? Like that's just pretty ignorant, I think. But yeah, she's a little nutty. But I didn't see them either, Catherine. I think they might have been towards the back on the defense's side. It looks like, so the defense's side looked like it only went back like a few pews, but I think it actually goes back further than that. I think it actually goes back further than the prosecution side does, but I'm not 100% for sure, so don't quote me on that. But they did say that they were going. I mean, they said that they were on their way there. They took a picture on the way there of the rainbow that they saw on their trip to Boise. So I didn't see them either. So I'm thinking they were like somewhere where we just couldn't see them. But yeah, I'm not sure. So Wolf, this lady here was doing heart signs behind Kohlberger. And we know this isn't, Brian's girl, or Brian's girl. She went by a few names on Reddit because we know that girl is a lot younger than me, even. Like we think that girl's like in her teenage years or late teens. Because she's just, the way that she posts, the things that she posts, she's very young. And yeah, she's just very young. But so this lady is saying that they're saying that this is the same lady. And this is this Rochelle Boring, but this lady looks different in this picture. This lady looks younger and to have a 13-year-old son. Oh no, the math is weird there. But it says, I was sending the heart to my 13-year-old son, but apparently Steve G had to show the security, which it wouldn't be security, it would be the cops, but okay. So when I left, 5 officers met me outside. So lame. And Christy gave me the dirtiest looks I've ever seen. So apparently they think I love Brian. Too bad they were on social media instead of paying attention to the hearing. And then she puts all these like mad faces, cussing faces. So she's an all-star contributor. So if I get into these groups, I'll search for her. I'll search around and I'll try to locate her because I did look under the face, like my Facebook app, and I couldn't find her. So I couldn't find this account at all. But we'll see. So this article is long, but I think it's a good read. So I was going to read it over with you guys. This is going to get us updated to like from everything over the last few days. If you guys didn't hang out with us for 7.5 hours yesterday, what was your problem? Why didn't you? I'm just kidding. We were listening to Brian Kohlberger's court hearing he was in. So they had a slew of motions, like motions hearings and motion limine hearing, and they made some decisions on some of the things, and then some of the stuff they are he's going to make a decision and he will give it to us in writing. So I did look on the Idaho website tonight. There were a couple new filings on there. I thought that they were going to be like worth reading through, but they're not. They're not. Well, one of them is 27 pages and it looks like it's very scientific. So I'm going to read that one tomorrow and I'm going to go over the key details with you guys, the cliff notes, if you would. And then the other ones were just the supplemental response to discovery, and then some motions to seal. So, and that's all so far. They do want to get sealed the traffic stop from Brian Kohlberger's traffic stop. And he hasn't made a decision, but he was making decisions on the other things and he stopped there. So I'm wondering if he's going to just redact things out of that and then go ahead and give it to us. I don't know, but I'm hoping so. Hey, Harlow. Hey, Lenora. Hey, CJK. Welcome in. Hey, Lisa. Welcome in, everybody. Let's get it. True crime time. That dog cracks me up. Your dog was funny. That's a cute dog. Okay, so Brian makes a bombshell claim about 2 Idaho murder killers as judge considers if family will testify. So Brian Kohlberger plans to claim that 2 killers and 2 murder weapons were responsible for the brutal murders of the 4 Idaho students. And I don't know if they're going to use that because the way they described the different wounds, they described 2 of them the same, and then the other 2 victims, they were described differently than Kaylee and Maddie. So I don't know if that's what they're going to try, but we have produced an expert that believes it's likely there were 2 people, 2 weapons, she revealed. The defense attorney provided no further details about the expert, the theory, or the evidence pointing to this conclusion. Of course she didn't. She didn't know. However, it comes after the defense previously revealed plans to present alternate suspects at his murder trial and to claim that he was framed by the real killer planting his DNA at the crime scene. Okay, so we're going away from the drive-in at night now, or I don't know what we're doing. They need to figure it out. The latest shocking claim came during a day-long hearing in Ada County, Idaho, Wednesday, where the defense and prosecution went head-to-head over critical evidence in the high-profile murder case. The 30-year-old criminology PhD student is facing the death penalty for the murders in Moscow, Idaho. The 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death in the early morning hours in the off-campus home the 3 young women shared with their 2 other roommates. And then if you guys missed our live, this is the newest picture of Brian Kohlberger's dad, Michael Kohlberger. Wonder if he's calling the cops on the Daily Mail right there. He likes some shoes. He likes those New Balances. Those must be comfy. The horror murders, the first homicide in 7 years for the small, tight-knit college town, plunged the community into fear and sent shockwaves across the country. Around 6 weeks later, on December 30th, 2022, police swooped on Kohlberger at his parents' home in the Poconos region of Pennsylvania and charged him with the murders. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf at his arraignment. Now staring down the prospect of the firing squad, the 2 sides are sparring over what evidence jurors should be allowed to see at the trial this summer. The evidence at issue includes DNA found on a knife sheath at the scene and under the fingernails of one of the victims. The relevance of Kohlberger's autism, the testimony of one of the surviving roommates, the panic 911 call, and the use of terms including bushy eyebrows, murderer, psychopath, or sociopath and psychopath. Dressed in a pale shirt, the suspected mass killer sat silently at the defense table next to his legal team, including lead attorney Ann Taylor and new addition DNA expert Bricka Barlow in the first day of the 2-day hearing, but it was only a 1-day hearing. During the hearing, Judge Stephen Hippler weighed up the role Kohlberger's own family members will play in his trial after they were listed as possible witnesses for the prosecution. Attorney Elisa Massif told the judge that the suspect's family has no interest in helping the prosecution in its case against the 30-year-old, as the defense argued they should be allowed to be present for the duration of the trial, even if being called as state witnesses. So she's saying that the family has no interest in helping the prosecution. But the family seemed like they were not. When they made that statement way back when Brian was arrested, they said that they were going to be there for the victims. They were there to help whatever they needed to help with, but they were going to stand behind their son. You know, they were going to stand behind his innocence. But they could just subpoena them to testify. I mean, sometimes you don't get a choice in life. Sorry. So there's him in his PJs. Brian's family has no desire to be used as witnesses against him, Massive said. So, okay, well, I'm sure they don't want to be a witness against him, but if they have knowledge of something and the state knows it and they ask the right questions and they make them go on the stand, they have to answer truthfully. I mean, sorry. I'm sure you're used to getting your son out of a lot of stuff, but this is something you can't get him out of if he's guilty, you know? His family loves him and supports him. He is absolutely dependent on them, having been in isolation for almost 2.5 years since his arrest, she said. She said that if it wasn't for financial reasons due to the need to travel from Pennsylvania, they would be in attendance for every court hearing. Kohlberger's lawyer urged the judge to find some humanity for the accused killer's father, mother, or 2 sisters. Massive also argued that due to his autism, Kohlberger needs his family here to support him. Prosecutors said they plan to call some of the suspects' family members, but not all. It is not clear which family members or for what reason. I'm going to say the dad because of the drive all the way cross country. They're going to want to know his state of mind and all of that, you know, during that drive, what they talked about. They're just going to want to know everything. And then I'm going to say one of the 2 sisters, whichever sister it was. I think it was the actress one. Is that Melissa? I think it's going to be the sister that like raised the alarm, like, and was like, this could have been Brian. He has that car. He lives just over state lines. That would be my 2, because the mom really didn't do much of anything. I haven't heard her say anything. And the stuff that she put online about like her son, you know, going away to college and it being sad, like that was nothing. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't anything that was, I don't think. So I think it would be the dad and the sister. Who do you guys think? I know that his parents worked for the school. I know that. It says, but the defense told the court that that all of his immediate family members were interviewed at the time of his arrest, and at best, they believed the state would only call one of them as a prosecution witness. The defense also did not reveal who they were referring to. The judge seemed to be swayed by the defense's plea for him to find a level of humanity for Kohlberger's family, but said he would rule at a later date. I can only imagine that the family of Mr. Kohlberger is devastated by these things. It's nothing they did, and their ability to be here to see the trial is important, he said. There's his sister Amanda. It looks like, I mean, they're very similar. The Kohlberger family has been silent about the case for the past 2 years. The only public comments ever made came in a statement released in the days after his arrest, where they said they care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children, that they were cooperating fully with the investigation, and that as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. Exclusive Daily Mail photos captured his father, Michael Kohlberger, 69, tending to the garden at the family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania in late March. His wife, Marianne, 65, remained inside their home. In Wednesday's hearing, the judge heard arguments on a string of other motions after the 2 sides have submitted a flurry of court documents and requests with the trial date looming. During the hearing, Kohlberger's defense brought up his autism diagnosis, something that the team has argued as a reason for the death penalty being struck from the case. Kohlberger's defense told the judge that if convicted and facing capital punishment, the team will seek to use his diagnosis as a mitigating factor that means he could not be sentenced to death. His attorney, Ann Taylor, argued that some of Kohlberger's behaviors, such as the way he sits and how he talks for a long time, and that these autism-related characteristics should not be used by prosecutors as reasons he should get the death penalty. According to Taylor, the state has hundreds of hours of interviews with people Kohlberger knew at Washington State University, and that many of them are saying unkind things about him. Well, you can't make people like you. I mean, that's the truth. You can't make people like you. Prosecutors told the judge they didn't plan to do so, saying the state has a lot better evidence to argue than aggravating factors amount to capital punishment. However, the prosecution argued that they should be able to respond if the defense tries to pin Kohlberger's actions and behaviors on his diagnosis. The judge went on to issue a ruling around Kohlberger's autism, ordering that the state cannot use his diagnosis as an aggravating factor if he is convicted and the trial enters the death penalty phase. Due to changes to Idaho death penalty procedures, the 30-year-old could face the firing squad as method of execution, a prospect that has been welcomed by some of the victims' families. Later in the hearing, the defense and prosecution sparred over Kohlberger's team argument that they should be able to cite his autism as an explanation for his demeanor in court. The state also hit out at the defense's claim in a recent filing that he has a physical condition that would have made it impossible for him to kill 4 in the roughly 13-minute time frame. The defense, meanwhile, argued that jurors should hear about his autism because they also offer an explanation for some of his behaviors both in and out of the courtroom. Well, that's fine. Bring the autism in and then bring in his Strava records, of him doing a 6-minute mile. And say, oh, he is unable to carry out these murders. Man, Mia, you getting comfortable or what, girl? Did you hear that? That's just my dog. Sorry. For example, Kohlberger was allegedly wearing gloves and placing trash in baggies when police raided his parents' home and arrested him. The defense argued that rather than trying to hide his DNA, Kohlberger was wearing gloves to avoid germs due to his OCD. So you wear them 24/7. All the time. And this ain't something new. This ain't something new. You got pictures that you can show us with you wearing gloves. No, you don't. People with OCD, we don't wear gloves all the time like that. I'm just, come on now, Kohlberger. And we don't place our trash in extra and other baggies. We don't touch our trash, even with a glove one. It's gross. Once it's in the trash, it's in the trash. We don't go digging it back out. No, nobody with OCD is going to be doing that. Arguments were also heard over whether his autism diagnosis means the death penalty should be taken off the table. The defense claimed his demeanor would place him at a greater risk of being sentenced to death, arguing that every move Kohlberger makes is scrutinized and claiming he has been presented in the media as evil and soulless. I don't think I said either of those words. The state pushed back, arguing that the precedents previously set are for intellectual disabilities, which autism is not. The judge plans to rule on both of these matters at a later date. The hearing got underway with the judge agreeing that the term psychopath and sociopath should be blocked from the trial, providing a minor win for the suspect. Kohlberger's defense began by arguing that the terms murderer, psychopath, and sociopath and so-called inflammatory evidence be struck from the trial. Taylor told the judge that the defense wants to present excessive use of emotional phrasing where it puts Mr. Kohlberger in a position where the jury is already inflamed. Judge Stephen Hippler quickly made it clear that he did not see the purpose of the defense's motion because they simply point to standard courtroom conduct that he expects both sides to follow. I don't think I need an order as the rule applies that there are rules, which means they will be followed, he said. You're going to follow the rules in his courtroom. Taylor argued that it was preventive, something that the prosecution argued isn't necessary. When it comes to inflammatory evidence such as crime scene photos, Judge Hippler pointed out that the crime scene photos are particularly graphic. But make no mistake that these murders, whoever committed them, were brutal and were horrific, and so I suspect that the evidence reflects that. While the judge did agree with the words psychopath and sociopath could not be used at trial, he said this is because Kohlberger has not been given a diagnosis as such, so it wouldn't be relevant to the case. He told both sides he simply expects them to follow courtroom standards. Follow courtroom standards. The two sides also sparred over the defense's plan to present alternative perpetrators to jurors at trial. Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson told the judge that the defense plans to throw out a shotgun variety of persons' names. He argued that there must be a threshold for pointing the finger at other potential suspects and that the information be shared with the state so they can prepare for it at trial. Kohlberger's attorney, Massive, insisted the defense will not take a shotgun approach or throw spaghetti at the wall and see what falls. Judge Hippler said he would set a date for a hearing to go into this matter more. He ain't going to allow that. He's going to say, you can't come in here and say, it was Hunter Johnson, and then say it was Jack DeCore, and then say it was Jeremy the neighbor, and then, like all the people, we went through before. Joe Viddit at the food truck. People were going after him. I'm like, leave that guy alone. Like, just crazy. Oh, I don't have that video anymore. I used to have a video that, did I take that off of here? Oh, I did. I could probably get it back quick and in a hurry, but hey, Aries, I wanted to say hey to you earlier. Hope you're still in here. I just realized I forgot to say hey to you guys. I stopped my little cursor. Hey, Deborah. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Kathy. Hey, True Crime Editor. Welcome in, guys. Hey, Samantha. Hey, baby girl. I stopped my little cursor so I could come down and say hi to you, and then I completely kept reading and forgot. So welcome in. Get to the ducking point, everybody. Welcome in. I was like, oh, Aries. I feel bad because he said something and I read it, and then he got me into reading it, and then I came over here. So prosecutors told the judge they do not believe the DNA found under the fingernails of 21-year-old Mogan belongs to the man on trial for her murder. Prosecutor Jeff Nye revealed that the state's belief is actually that there would not be DNA from the suspect on the victim. The theory here is that we would not expect the perpetrator's DNA to be under her fingernails due to what the surviving witness saw a masked intruder inside the home wearing moments after the murders. Plus, he said that his DNA was not under there. And she had no defensive wounds. The lack of defensive wounds and the toxicology results of the victim also supported this, he said. So she must have been pretty drunk. I don't remember him saying toxicology results. Do you guys remember him saying the toxicology results? Hey, Trips. That's true. P. Diddy has a lot of money. We will actually be arguing you would not expect the perpetrator's DNA to be under the fingernails, he added. The prosecutor made the comments after Kohlberger's defense lawyer asked the judge to block the use of the terms inclusive about the DNA, saying it suggests that it could be Kohlberger's DNA. While it might be technically true that Kohlberger cannot be excluded, it's not an accurate statement, Barlow said. A court filing recently revealed the DNA evidence from 3 unknown individuals was found under Mogan's left fingernails. A DNA expert previously told DailyMail.com, it is quite common for people to have a mixture of DNA under their nails, especially from people they live with or are close to. Forensic DNA expert John Jay College of Criminal Justice professor Dr. Prince explained that people pick up unexplained DNA under their nails by simply touching items. Separately, the judge struck down a defense motion seeking to ban the use of the term touch DNA, a term one of the defense own expert witnesses has used. And that's now the lawyer sitting there, right there. He's like, wait, didn't you actually use that term? Bricka? Okay. Kohlberger was allegedly tied to the murders through DNA on a brown leather K-bar knife sheath found next to Mogan's lifeless body in her bedroom on the 3rd floor of the home. Touch DNA on the sheath was traced back to Kohlberger using investigative genetic genealogy, according to prosecutors. And this is my thing too. If someone wanted to plant evidence I don't know why they would plant it against Brian Kohlberger. I mean, he just moved to Washington. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't nobody. But I think that they would put it a lot more places than just the inside of a button snap. Like maybe on the outside of the sheath. Maybe leave the knife there with his fingerprints on it. that would probably be a slam dunk, you know? I mean, I would do it to make it sure it's a slam dunk. I wouldn't want to be doing all this 2-3 years later crap, you know? So, I don't know. I just keep thinking about stuff like that. Like, who would want to frame him? Other evidence in dispute in the hearing included the panicked text and calls made by surviving roommates Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk after Mortensen came face to face with an intruder inside their home around the time of the murders. The two sides also battled over the gut-wrenching 911 call made by the surviving roommates and friends after Kernodle's body was discovered just before midday that fateful day, as well as the reliability of Mortensen's crucial testimony. The defense wants to block the term bushy eyebrows from the trial, the term used by Mortensen to describe the masked intruder she saw in the house. Kohlberger's defense reeled off a list of factors that they argued shows Mortensen is not reliable as a witness, including that she admitted she was drunk at the time, told police she was in a dreamlike state, had drawings of people with prominent eyebrows on her walls. I don't believe that. I saw the pictures. I don't think that's what it is, but okay. And that she was not separated from other witnesses following the discovery of the murders. They also argued that Mortensen did not mention eyebrows at the time at all during the first 3 police interviews, only mentioning them when asked by officers. The linchpin, the reliability is not there, the defense said. Prosecutors, however, argued that her account and description of the intruder had been consistent in every interview. The man was white, a few inches taller than her, dressed in all black, wearing a mask, was skinny, and had a voice she did not recognize. The state also argued that the focus on eyes and eyebrows was neutral, given that was the only facial feature she could see beneath the mask. Dylan Mortensen is the only living individual who saw the person who's responsible for these homicides, the prosecutor said, adding that it makes her relevant to identify the killer. A chilling selfie captured by Kohlberger around 6 hours after the murders has been presented by prosecutors as evidence of the suspect's bushy eyebrows at the time of the murders. The defense is also looking to ban the 911 call from the trial, claiming it's hearsay and pointing to the 8-hour gap between Mortensen's encounter and the intruder and the call. Taylor argued that a whole lot more went on between those two moments, arguing that Mortensen was editing photos on her phone, using Snapchat, and calling family members. She pointed to the cell phone records of the 2 survivors, something that the defense wants to include at trial. That this is not someone who was asleep and woke up startled, Taylor said. The judge agreed that some of the 911 call could be hearsay and that not all of it would be allowed to be presented at the trial. So he's going to go through and he's going to go word by word and see what he wants to redact and what he wants to keep in. So we saw I guess the unredacted version already, and they'll probably at some point put out a redacted version. So we'll be able to, put them up side by side and see what was taken out. And we can maybe kind of come up with an idea of why it would have been taken out. So there's the infamous selfie, the day or the morning of the murders, later on in the morning. Eyebrows are definitely bushy. They definitely are pretty bushy. So prosecutors, meanwhile, want to ban Kohlberger's team from presenting his vague alibi for the night of the murders, claiming he was driving around alone looking at the moon and stars, unless the accused killer takes the stand to testify to it himself. In the hearing, Thompson said that the only person who can testify to an alibi, if there is an alibi, is the defendant himself. He argued that a cell phone expert put forward by the defense, Cy Ray, cannot show Kohlberger's whereabouts at the time of the murders because his cell phone was turned off. The judge ruled that Cy could offer a partial corroboration by presenting evidence of where the cell phone was before and after it was turned off. In a testing moment, Judge Hippler scolded the defense for suggesting that the prosecution had not handed over cell phone evidence, AT&T timing advanced records from November 2022. Kohlberger was not a suspect at that point, and so the state claims it does not have such evidence, as the data is only available for 7 days after the fact. You've made some serious allegations against the state about hiding evidence, yet you've provided no evidence, zero, the judge warned Taylor, adding that such allegations get people disbarred. Bam! He was pissed. He wasn't happy. He was mad. I mean, for a judge to be talking about disbarment with you. I mean, I would have sat down and sulked in my chair. I would have been like, I don't even know. The defense also argued that body cam footage from a traffic stop carried out by the police on Kohlberger in the months prior to the murder should be struck from the trial, claiming the state is trying to use it to show a pattern of bad acts before the murders. No, I don't think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to show who he is. The prosecution countered that the body cam is evidence to show Kohlberger's ties to the white Hyundai Elantra that matches the vehicle seen speeding away from the crime scene after the murders. The judge said he would watch the footage, but likely would want to redact some of the footage, but not exclude it. The defense also argued against the use of surveillance footage, which captured a white Hyundai Elantra driving around the crime scene at the time of the murders. Like, they're going to exclude that. The defense also wants to block Kohlberger's Amazon records as evidence, which allegedly showed he bought a knife matching the murder weapon months before the slayings. The records show Kohlberger bought a K-bar knife, sheath, and sharpener from this site back in March 2022, 8 months before the murders, according to court documents. Kohlberger's Amazon history also reveals that he searched for a replacement knife or sheath in the days after the murders, according to prosecutors. Now, do you think that, okay, if Maddie was his target, let's say, right? Do you think that he bought the knife and he bought it because in the back of his mind, he was planning on doing something? He's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kill someone. He didn't know who, though, yet. Or do you think that he had already been stalking her, like on Instagram or something, or maybe an app that we don't know about? They're saying that there's no connection through the apps, but we don't know that for sure. Like, we haven't seen it for sure. So, I'm wondering if, you know, if he somehow, she did all this. I know she did all the social media for like the Mad Greek, right? So what if he was, I don't know. What if that's how he, like, you know, was in contact with her somehow, like through the Mad Greek? Like, he looked up restaurants that were vegan friendly in the area, and that's how he got to the Mad Greek. I don't know. Like, he was just going to use it, you think, baby girl? Just like got it, just, you know, was like, just in case. Maybe he was like, well, I'll get it out here in Pennsylvania. So it looks, you know what I mean? Like, there's no links to it being in Washington. He wasn't very smart. I mean, some of the stuff, excellent. Some of the stuff, no, not so much. I mean, like, his brain, I think that he thought he could do this, and it was a little different than what he expected. It says Kohlberger's Amazon history also reveals that he searched for a replacement knife or sheath in the days after the murders, according to prosecutors. His defense is arguing that the account was used by multiple people, including his family members, and that AI prompts people to purchase certain items. Yeah, but it doesn't make you purchase them. The judge cast doubt on this argument and revealed that the account had tracked the shipping of the item after the purchase. 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, had been set aside by the judge to hear arguments. The judge's rulings on the matter will play a huge role in the evidence presented by both sides of trial when it gets underway in August. It is unclear when Judge Hippler will hand down the remainder of the rulings. Family members of 21-year-old Gonzalez had traveled to Boise for the hearing, facing their daughter's suspected killer in the courtroom. Part of getting justice for you includes being part of the court hearings. We are heading down to Boise in the morning for the next couple of days. Please pray for us, the family wrote on their Facebook page. Kohlberg's trial is expected to last around 3 months. Can you believe that, 3 months? I don't think it's going to last that long. I don't think it'll last that long. I think it'll maybe 2 months. I don't even know if it'll last 2 months. You think it's going to last that long? Or at the pool party, yeah. Pool partying it up. I mean, but he didn't have like the guts to go up to her, but he had the guts to go up to the girl with the thong and the tattoo on her thigh. I mean, you would think that, like, that she would be more, you know, like, you would be more nervous going up to a girl like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just, she seemed like, in my mind, if you're, you know, got a big tattoo on your leg and you're showing it off and you're showing off your butt, you got confidence about you. You know, you're confident. So, like, for him to go up there and be like, can I get your number? And he got it, supposedly, and then got her friend's number. I mean, Maddie is just so much more softer and sweeter looking than, like, in my mind, than somebody with a big old tattoo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to like judge. I'm not judging. I have tattoos. You just can't see them. But I don't know. I just think she would be more softer looking. Like, you know, she just small, meek, mild. Been in like the downtown area. Yeah. I think it's because she had a boyfriend and didn't even think about it. Yeah. And if he did try to reach out like on Instagram or something like that, you know, like she might not have seen it because I have messages I just saw today on my request. I usually don't even go to my requests because they're like, people are weird on social apps. Let's just say that. You think he was planning a murder, Denise? And those kids became his target. He was planning a murder and those kids became his target. It could be. Things true crime editor. You know me. Yeah. Well, if I believe that. Maybe Pretty Hate Machine. You might be right. Actually, yeah. Maybe it was, yeah. Maybe that, maybe women that were like that, more like respectful women in his eyes, you know, or his picture perfect person, you know, maybe he was more intimidated. But other people who just could roll up on him and be like, hey, because that's how, I mean, he talked to the DJ. I guess he was a little too close to the DJ for comfort. And like, you know, but I mean, DJ booths sections are kind of small anyway. I mean, you know. So we've been going over these videos on FoxNation. I thought we would go over a couple tonight, and then I think we'll have like one more to go over. So I didn't realize that all of these. So the first two that we watched were like the roundtable discussions, and they were with what's his name, O.J. Simpson trial, the cop on there. You know who I'm talking about. You'll know when you see him. I can't think of his name right now to save my soul. But I didn't realize that all of these videos are like the roundtable kind of discussions. So this one is just a different one into all those. But I thought we would watch these two tonight. One of them is The Mind of Brian Kohlberger, and then the next one is his online secrets. So, well, these are they're not too long. They're like 20 minutes long. Let me go back. That'll let me. And then we'll have to like, this is a while ago, but we were doing, like we were going back to the beginning with Nancy Grayson, following like her little journey through this whole case, because she was there. And remember, she sat at the table. She sat at the table in front of like the house and was like, here I am with her neon colored, like green gloves, that her child made for her. But I thought that would be kind of funny to go back to too, just to see what she has to say. Because there are a lot of stuff that, like, when we go back, like I hear things again and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And I do have this book down here. I need to go through it one day and just pick out a section and just go over that section with you guys. Like I had like notes and doodles and all kinds of stuff, just weird stuff. But it would be good to go over it all again. Since we're getting ready, you know, for trial.
There's somewhere at this hour.
Students are facing.
Okay, making sure that was one. Okay, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so very much. I'll pause it here and there for commentary. And don't forget to hit the like button if you guys don't mind. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat and I'll be in the chat with you guys to answer them. So I was trying to get this all the way back to the beginning, but I think we're going to miss like the first 3 seconds. I'm determined.
7 weeks, the town of Moscow, Idaho remained.
That's the guy. I can't think of his name though. Let me see. Doesn't say it.
On high alert.
The Moscow, Idaho killer who slaughtered these 4 students in the prime of their lives is out there somewhere at this hour.
Students are facing imminent fear right now and are fleeing campus because of that.
Please just turn yourself in. Please don't make these families.
Until finally, the tides turned.
The suspect in the slaying of 4 University of Idaho students was apprehended. 28-year-old grad student Brian Kohlberger was taken into custody in Pennsylvania.
He had no prior record, no connection to the victims, no plausible motive, but Moscow police were certain they got their guy. Who is Brian Koberger? What makes him tick?
I think he was sinister for quite some time.
This is difficult.
Thank
getting
you,
inside the
Betsy.
mind of someone like this.
This type of person is actually
Couldn't think of it.
Although police say they have quite a lot of evidence against him, he remains confident that he's going to be exonerated.
He definitely had an ego and wanted to wield that.
One of the basic tenets of an antisocial personality is lying and deception.
Does anybody think this wasn't his first murder? We all know there are evil people in the world, but how did they get that way? It's a question that has fascinated scholars, criminologists, and psychologists for decades. Some argue that certain individuals possess inherent traits that make them more prone to violent behavior. Others believe that environmental factors, upbringing, and life experiences are to blame. While this nature versus nurture debate may truly never be settled, it forces us to explore what drives certain individuals to kill. In this special, we're going to evaluate suspected murderer Brian Koberger on a psychological level. We'll investigate his background, his behavior, and his actions the night of the crime. Our goal is not to determine his guilt or innocence. Only a jury of his peers can do that. It's simply to see if he fits the profile of someone capable of taking 4 innocent lives, and ask the larger question, are killers born or made? Today I have on the panel 3 experts that are going to help us better understand Brian Koberger. To my right is clinical forensic psychologist Craig Wetterer. We have Jason Jensen, criminal profiler, Dana Anderson, forensic psychologist. So to start this off, I think we need to go back to the time when these murders occurred. So at 2 weeks, we knew some particulars about the crime scene. We knew some of the positioning. So tell me what all that said to you as far as the type of criminal actually committed this crime.
It appeared that this was an organized, premeditated attack where somebody entered the home, made their way up to the 3rd floor, encountered 2 women. I believe one of the 2 women, either Maddie or Kaylee, were the intended target, and it was not expected that both would be in the same room.
As forensic psychologists, what kind of a person goes into an inhabited dwelling with a knife thinking that they're going to be successful?
Well, one of the first things that I thought about was who could have the physical stamina to do such a thing, like to actually stab multiple people.
That takes quite a bit of bravado to be able to enter a residence, possibly not knowing how many people are in there. So psychologically, this is somebody who seems to have overconfidence. No matter what prompted the killer to enter 1122 Kings Road on that cold November night, he must have had a plan. Or did he? In the world of profiling, we have 2 descriptions, organized and disorganized. So in your opinion, what is he, organized or disorganized? Well, I think maybe it started as an organized offense, but it quickly became disorganized.
I totally agree with you. Dana, do you agree with that assessment?
We're looking at periods of time where he was allegedly surveillancing, right? He was in the area. So he was thinking about this for some time in his mind.
Brian Koberger's cell phone pinged 12 times near the house in the weeks and months before the killing. According to police, that could possibly indicate the stalking of one or more of the victims by Koberger and possibly the planning of those brutal killings.
That does look like Kohlberger's sister. That lady, everyone thought it was Kohlberger's sister, which it's not, but it does look like her.
And he was organizing himself. He was thinking it through. He's probably rehearsing it in his head. And maybe he wanted to commit the perfect crime.
Clearly, we had premeditation. He felt like he had everybody mapped out, figured out who would be in what room. By the time he got there, he just sees the lights go out in Maddie's room, thinking Maddie's in the room all by herself. But when he goes in there and encounters two, I think that's when it all fell apart.
Well, does everybody agree that he went up to Maddie's room intentionally, that she was most probably the target?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
But
guess
where
we're all
did
agreeing on that.
Koberger first meet Maddie?
That's a good question. But yeah, I think everyone's kind of thinks the same thing with who the target was.
Some say it could have been at a local restaurant where she and Xana both worked as servers.
I think there's a possibility he was obsessed with Maddie. There's a possibility he went into the restaurant. There's a possibility there was an exchange. There was a conversation. There could have been an advance. There could have been a compliment that was rebuffed or laughed at.
It was someone that they knew.
Did the Mag Greek, this is going to sound like, I mean, I'm going to say yes. I'm probably 99% sure, but did they sell alcohol there? I'm pretty sure they did. So we know from other people, you know, that Brian had been at a couple other locations and he was known as like the creepy guy kind of at the bar. So maybe he did try to hit on her. Maybe he was a little creepy.
Somebody that they desired. I felt it was a stalker situation. He waited till all the occupants were home and the lights went out.
When he went up there, it's dimly lit. He's dressed in black. He's holding a knife in his right hand. We know he's right-handed. And it's November. The girls are both in bed, but they're not lying in bed with no covers on. So you have a lump that you believe is your intended victim. And during that attack, Kaylee wakes up. The attack on her was more violent and more hands-on and more facial. So the fight was on.
But in party houses like this one, noise, even at 4 a.m., wasn't that out of the ordinary. Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, said she was awoken by the scuffle, but thought it was Kaylee playing with her dog.
He was trying to get
Look
out
how
of
little
there,
Murphy was.
and Xana came out of her room and confronted him. So how does that go into the psychology of somebody at the scene, and how does it go into the profiling? You know, you can make the decision, okay, she sees me, but I've got a mask on and I'm all black. Tell me why attack her, and then why a sleeping Ethan Chapin in bed? Why attack him? Where's the mindset?
So it depends on whether we're dealing with a psychopath. I've interviewed a lot of murderers, and many of the crimes that are committed are disorganized and they escalate, right? So the initial intention is not to kill, but it turns into that because they panic. They feel like, I'm all in now. I'm already going to get caught.
Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan had died at the hands of a crazed monster. But for some reason, Dylan and their roommate, Bethany, were spared.
There was a chilling statement from a roommate of the four victims who said on the night of the murders she had heard noises from her roommate's room, crying, and then a male voice saying, quote, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Somebody just savagely stabbed and sliced to death two young women. Wait, I can help you. What's he trying to do? How do you elevate to that kind of a homicide and then de-escalate to a calm voice? No, wait, I can help you. What's he doing?
So ominous when I heard that statement. And I think about the time when he applied to be a security guard officer and the time he applied to work at the police station. You're in a position of power and authority. Think about that.
Is that a key factor with this type of a suspect, power and
Oh,
authority?
power and control for sure, especially if rape was the initial intent. We have power rapists and power and control.
Well, that, and if it was an officer or somebody in law enforcement, Xana would have probably came around the corner. Maybe she's dropping her food off or something. I don't know, like the bag. and she's coming back through and she sees him and he says, you know, hey, I'm here to help. Like, you know, that sounds like something that an officer or someone in law would say. Like, I'm here to help you. Like, don't be startled. I'm here to help you. Like,
control are primary drivers for rape.
me
It's
anyway,
not
it
about the
sounds like
sex.
it.
It's about the power and the control over somebody else.
If power and control were his motivation, why didn't he kill the other two roommates?
I'm gonna pause it again. Sorry. I think the reason why Dylan or Bethany, I'm thinking the reason why Bethany was spared was because he never went down to the first floor. If he went through that back slider door, then he never went to the first floor. I think personally he might have went in the front door, but I think that he didn't touch any of the first floor bedrooms. With Dylan, I think either he was exhausted and he was maybe going back upstairs for the knife sheath and then said, forget it, and just went out the back slider. Or maybe he didn't see her at all, because that room is really dark. If you like are just opening it like a small amount and looking out, he might have been looking down at that 4-inch step that goes down right there. That's what I would be looking for. I'd be looking for that step. So maybe that's why he didn't kill these two.
Dylan and Bethany. Did he not know they were there?
According to new unsealed filings in the gruesome Idaho murders, one of the two surviving roommates came face to face with the killer, who was wearing a black mask, in the early hours of November the 13th, before the roommate then locked herself in a room.
This is a teenage girl who was traumatized and most likely paralyzed in fear. And it's a miracle that she was not murdered.
I don't believe she opened the door and was standing there face to face with the suspect. I think she opened the door, saw the suspect, and I'm not sure the suspect knew that she saw him.
As news of the quadruple homicide rippled through the nation, the killer's weapon of choice took many by surprise.
With the autopsies completed, the coroner has confirmed 4 homicides. All victims stabbed to death were told likely with the same knife, possibly something like this K-bar tactical knife with a 6-inch blade commonly issued by the military.
Why a Marine Corps K-bar? Even if you're interested in the military, there's a lot of other knives that they use. It's very much a utility knife. You could chop a small tree down with it, cut firewood, you can dig holes, you can do anything with it. It's pretty indestructible. In my life, I've done some training with knives, and this would be the last knife that you would use in close quarters in this situation. There's 100 other knives that would be better suited. So, in my opinion, is the K-bar symbolic?
According to reports, Koberger purchased a K-bar knife on Amazon in April of 2022, 7 months before the crime took place.
If it was part of the ultimate plan, he was thinking about this well before he even moved to Pullman.
There was one movie that not only actually showed a K-bar for about 15 minutes, but they were showing training, and he's showing exactly where to attack a human being. The right side, liver, lung, throat. I mean, you wonder if it was somehow symbolic to him of power and manhood and all the things that he wanted to be that he wasn't.
Just who is Brian Koberger? What had his life been before he had moved to Washington?
Everyone kind of over magnifying that he's this PhD student. But who was Brian Koberger way before this? He had a substance abuse problem. Stole his sister's cell phone, he took it to the mall and he cashed it out, made a couple $100, probably because he wanted to get high. And now we're here. Well, I'm sure there's a lot that went on in between time.
Well, he had probably 12 years of progression from the time he was getting involved with drugs. And I guess the question is does anybody think this was his first?
How many times did he mess up before his dad called the cops on him about him stealing his sister's cell phone? How many cell phones did he steal before this one was the last straw? Do you know what I mean? Because if your mom and dad are calling the police on you, you've messed up a whole lot before, because parents always give their kids another chance. I mean, they ain't gonna call the cop on you the first time. I mean, unless it's like, but if you do like, stuff like this, like stealing your sister's cell phone for drugs, like, or stealing money out of your mom's purse or your dad's wallet, or I wonder what all he did before the cell phone. Because there had to have been things that he did before the cell phone. I'm not saying he murdered anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying I think he did other things before that got him there.
Well, it's hard to know. I have seen cases in which an individual commits 4 murders all at once, like a spree killing, and there wasn't evidence that they had committed any other crimes. We don't know what else he has done in the past because many crimes go unsolved.
Why would he apply to be a police officer, right? I don't think his intentions were good.
Actually, there's been several serial killers and murderers that have gotten in those positions.
They have.
And he wanted to be in a position like that where he'd be seen as more superior or intelligent, right? And you're in that position. And those positions also demand respect. And he was seeking that.
During Koberger's time at DeSales University, he studied under forensic psychologist Catherine Ramsland, who wrote a book about serial killer BTK, who also worked in law enforcement. Ramsland and BTK have been in touch for over a decade as he serves 10 consecutive life sentences.
The one case that they keep coming back to is BTK. And the irony with BTK is his first victim, he stalked, surveilled, planned, calculated. He went in the back door and there was the whole family there. Now you'd think, I'm just going to make an excuse, back out and say, oh, I came into the wrong house. No, he killed all 4. And to me, that is the one connection to BTK.
Well, I would think because he studied BTK, he was trying to learn how to commit that crime and just one up BTK.
Let's compare him to some other people. People have kicked around Ted
Or
Bundy.
the same
I'm
before,
not impressed
we did
with
it.
the comparison.
We compared him with Ted Bundy too. I know they both had 4 killings their first time. I have it on my Canva, I think. I'll find it if I need to.
Myself.
And you'll notice that with Ted Bundy, this grandiosity and this sort of bravado and arrogance that a psychopath has, and very, very intelligent, but he talked, would give interviews. I don't see that with Koberger.
He's not a serial killer. This was his only crime, I believe. He definitely made enough mistakes for a beginner.
The killer's biggest mistake, however, was leaving a crucial piece of evidence at the crime scene: the sheath to the K-bar knife.
Koberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath left next to one of the victim's bodies. Police then matched that DNA to trash from the suspect's family home in Pennsylvania.
Does it kind of bother you that if he wouldn't have been so stupid as to leave his DNA in a knife sheath, drive his own car, and other complete screw-ups that he made, that you 3 might be talking to this guy on a case?
He might have been a professor, teaching in a criminology program.
What a sick guy he was. Someone that was a criminal justice major, master's, getting his PhD, and he thought because he studied criminals that he was going to be able to get away with what he did.
But Koberger's teaching stint wasn't going quite so smoothly.
In the doctoral program that he was in
Here's
at
the one
Washington
for
State University,
Bundy.
he was having quite a bit of difficulty in his student teaching roles.
He's not a people person. Wasn't he the guy that I'm going to go into any room and I'm going to prove I'm the smartest guy here?
That's what other students had reported. This suggests that there are elements of narcissism going on here. Need for power, need for admiration, grandiosity, those sorts of things.
He definitely had an ego and wanted to wield that.
Did Koberger's narcissism develop once he got a taste of power in his TA position? Or had this always been part of his identity?
The investigation begins now. And as it relates to this guy, Koberger, now that he is out there as the defendant, the issue is, what did he say? Who did he hang out with? When he was in school, did he talk about doing this kind of thing as a criminal justice major? He was interested in what the criminal was thinking when a criminal committed a violent crime. So there's all kinds of additional evidence that will be gathered at this point going forward.
There is a genetic relationship to the development of a personality disorder, but there's the epigenetic crest. So what we mean by that is, yes, someone may have a genetic vulnerability to develop an antisocial personality disorder. Not everybody develops an antisocial personality disorder. Depending on their environment, depending on how they're shaped, depending on who influences them.
But how do you identify them? And once you identify them, what's society going to do about it? Incarcerate them? No.
The biggest problem with personality pathology generally is that people with personality disorders generally don't go for help. They generally don't get treatment because they don't think there's a problem. The problem is not them. The problem is you.
They refuse to see themselves for who they really are. They are so out of touch with their own psychology. They do not understand themselves. And if you attempt to give them any feedback, they can feel so deeply wounded.
Isn't that kind of the starter kit for a serial killer? We can't have any rules in society that I can't break because I'm smarter, better, and more privileged, and I should be able to do this.
The rules don't apply to them.
Exactly.
And so like Colbert, the rules, that's nice. Not for me.
Oh, happy birthday.
Breaking tonight, murder suspect Brian Koberger landed late tonight in Idaho to face charges.
Investigators say the evidence against Brian Koberger speaks volumes, even if the accused killer had little to say in court today.
The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
You watch him in court. You see his demeanor. Can you give us any labels to what you would say, if I had to say Brian Koberger is?
Well, from the available data and information that's out there, some of those elements of narcissism, I don't know, Dana, do you agree, or do you think that there's other personality traits that might be present as well?
It'll be interesting to see if he consents to being evaluated. Most typically, we come in at the beginning. If their defense attorney says, I don't think this guy understands what's happening, and then a court-appointed forensic psychologist will evaluate the defendant in custody.
Although it's unknown if Koberger has ever been diagnosed with mental illness, a series of online posts written during his teenage years indicate his battle with visual snow syndrome, of which depression and anxiety are often cited as symptoms. Visual snow can also cause individuals to see static-like dots, but it's unclear if that applied to Koberger.
Hallucinations are generally rare in genuine psychotic disorders. We don't see that frequently.
What's the connection between I have visual snow to murdering 4 kids with a knife? How does that solve your visible snow?
Yeah, I don't know how that would have any impact or bearing at all.
He could have this. It could be connected to a psychiatric
Well, if it's possible, that would require a full, psychological evaluation where we're going to be administering some standardized testing.
Although Koberger's social media was scrubbed by police shortly after he was taken into custody, his SoundCloud account remained online. The account is listed as belonging to Brian in Effort, Pennsylvania, and shares the same username that Koberger previously used on the mental health forum.
Eagles going louder than my motherfucking beagle, and your life you get no sequel. Leave your loved ones crying like some seagulls.
Oh, I'm just going to pause it for a second because they got me last time on this song, this SoundCloud song. I was like, are you kidding me right now? It was whoever made the beat, whoever has the beat in the background. It's not the lyrics. The lyrics are Brian Koberger, but we played like a lot of it too. So I think that's why.
You are not my equal, you are equal, but I'm people.
But that's all it was. Yeah, that's it. That's like the whole
Do these
song.
lyrics give us an insight into his state of mind? Have his feelings of angst and rage continued to fester or even intensify all these years?
You look at people who have engaged in acts of extreme violence, and you take a look at some of the psychological dimensions and variables of these individuals. Oftentimes they're seen as socially awkward. Sometimes they're on the autism spectrum. Many times they're not. They have difficulty
Look at
in
that.
establishing.
This guy right here is a psychologist. What did he say about?
Do these lyrics give us an insight into his state of mind? Have his feelings of angst and rage continued
Ann
to
got it from this
fester or
program.
even intensify all these years?
You look at people who have engaged in acts of extreme violence. You take a look at some of the psychological dimensions and variables of these individuals. Oftentimes they're seen as socially awkward. Sometimes they're on the autism spectrum. Many times they're not. They have difficulty
He said
in
sometimes, but many
establishing
times they're
intimate
not.
relationships with opposite gender.
Things aren't going well in their life. They're totally impaired. They're in a not good mental state.
Even if Koberger is found to have a psychotic disorder, he's unable to use that to his advantage if he's found guilty. Idaho is one of the country's 4 states that does not have an insanity defense.
Generally, defense attorneys are reluctant to use that defense unless they've got clear evidence that this person has a psychotic disorder, a genuine mental illness that we have good data to support. You have to approach what they say with suspicion. The basic tenets of an antisocial personality is lying and deception.
Believe that.
So in closing, I just want to thank you all. You've educated me in a lot of areas that I actually had questions. There's going to be a lot more to talk about, and we're going to.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next video, but because he just says goodbye to everybody. But I couldn't find the BTK comparison, but you guys should see how many thumbnails I have for this case. But I did find the parallels between Bundy and Kohlberger and the differences in their cases. So I did like this little thing. We'll have to go over that because I know that there's a video that goes over like Brian Kohlberger and Bundy. So yeah, we'll have to go over that. Okay. So the next video I was going to show you guys is it's the same like round table kind of discussion, but it's just a different topic. So that they're going to go over his online activity. Oh shoot, I forgot to rewind this one for you. Oops.
NYPD.
Oops. Oops. Resume. And then go back. This doesn't never wants to go. It doesn't want to go back ever. Like, see? Just got to do the 15 seconds. Okay. Like it just doesn't want to work. Okay, let me play. There we go. Okay, there we go. That worked a lot better. Okay. So the one we just went over was about, it was just like going over Brian Kohlberger. But yeah, if you want to hear the whole SoundCloud song or the whole song for Brian Kohlberger, if you just type in like Brian Kohlberger SoundCloud, it'll pop up. The whole song will pop up for you guys. But thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be in the chat with you guys. We'll pause this as we need to, and we'll go over whatever we need to go over as we're listening in. But if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell us in the chat if you're new, if we don't know where you're from and you want to tell us where you're from. I'd love to know where people are from. And if you're from somewhere that is not in the United States, or if you are, just tell me what time it is where you're at. Because it's 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. Now I'm going to hit the play. There we go.
Four victims.
Police in Idaho were investigating the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Their bodies discovered in an off-campus home. What's being called a crime of passion.
A suspect in custody.
New details around an arrest in the brutal University of Idaho quadruple murder. The suspect is 28-year-old Brian Kohlberger. He studied criminology at a university near the murders.
But what was their connection?
He's on social media. He's looking at the victims.
Every time they're doing videos, was he present? How many burner accounts did this person have?
Social media is designed for people to look at each other.
This is the new singles bar. This is the new Applebee's on Friday night, but you don't know who you're talking to.
Social media is the new
Applebee's.
Personality disordered people flock
Look at all these
together on
crimes.
all of these platforms. They thrive.
These people are dropping breadcrumbs. We like to flip their worlds upside down.
This is going to be the social media murders.
Washington, Nashville, North Dakota. Wow. Ooh.
For criminals, the digital world offers anonymity and a space for dark ideas to flourish. It's a place to connect with like-minded individuals and learn how to commit the perfect crime. Some use it to find their prey. Others use it to stalk individuals they already know, but not well enough. In this special, we're going to investigate suspected murderer Bryan Kohberger and the online connections he developed with the 4 victims: Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. We'll offer insight into his social media accounts, cryptic Reddit posts, an alleged research survey, and discuss the impact they'll have during the trial. We'll also explore how much of a role technology has on violent crime. Is it a tool to help criminals or a means for them to get caught? Well, of course, we're going to talk about the Moscow murders, but there's a unique area that we're going to cover now, and that is social media. With me is a social media expert, Chris Ruby, Paul Murrow, retired Inspector NYPD, and Lenny DePaul, retired United States Marshal. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So we know that really, of the 4 victims, Maddie and Kaylee were really the most active. They're on all these different websites, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So if they're throwing their images out there, and then you have suspects that don't know them at all, but they see something that keys into their obsession, their desire, their passion, their anger, whatever it is, we no longer have to have that one-on-one contact.
You said if they don't know him, what if they do know him? I think they'd be all over him like a cheap suit. I believe these platforms were public, right?
They were not password protected, and I can tell you that because I went on it. Kaylee's TikTok gave you a pretty good insight into what life was like in that house.
That's 9-10. Guys, can anybody drop me class? I'm fucking late for my meeting. I'm supposed to be there 10 minutes ago. Did anybody do their chores today? Fuck, I'm just gonna do it. Oh, shit, you guys, it's 8. Gotta go.
Social media really allows for a new level of digital voyeurism behavior in general.
I mean, how many people are just watching others on social media?
And it's not always just your friends.
These girls appeared to not necessarily be social media influencers, but then again, who isn't a social media influencer these days, right? Who is putting their entire life out there and racking up likes.
One of the videos shows all of the girls in the second floor area, which kitchen area, there's 2 bedrooms up there, etc. What you also see, though, is the sliding doors that lead out to the back. And some of the theories about the case argue that there was an opportunistic aspect of it because of how well the house was situated.
If you're doing videos of your house, you're broadcasting to everyone. This is exactly what my house looks like. Here's a map of the house. And that information can be really dangerous if used in the wrong hands.
Kaylee actually told fellow students that she was being physically stalked as well as being contacted online.
That's right. And it was one instance where somebody was following her to a car, apparently.
Yes, at the grocery store. We just don't know it's Bryan Kohberger.
A classmate of Kohberger at Washington State describes him as, quote, confident and outgoing, but super awkward and always trying to fit in and show others how much he knew about criminology.
Does it surprise any of you that there's been not one female that has said she's had a relationship with Bryan Kohberger? So where does that fit into the social media?
I think that people who are rejected in the real world dominate and win on social media. There's a crossover with online predatory behavior, with online trolling, and I think that they take out their anger and rage on new victims.
Well, they describe Bryan Kohberger as an incel. All of a sudden, the word incel now became a violent person, but that's not the definition. It's just somebody that they are basically celibate.
Not having a relationship with a human being. They may have relationships with technology.
What do you think Kohberger is seeing when he's online? Now, let's just try to be him for a minute.
He jumps in with 2 feet. He's on social media. He's looking at the victims.
As the investigation moves forward, there is also a new report that Koberger repeatedly sent direct messages or DMs to one of the female victims through Instagram 2 weeks before the murders that appeared not to have been opened, according to People magazine.
Social media by its nature is look at me, right? If he even communicated with them, it comes down to what you're going to characterize as stalking.
I would love to see if he watched their Instagram stories. Do we know that?
Well, I think the police know, but I think that they're not saying.
Well, we need to see a clear pattern of evidence that it was unwanted contact, right? And so one of the things I saw in this case, at least with Instagram, is that apparently the messages went to an other folder, so they were possibly never seen or read. But I would like to know if at any point there was a communication where someone said, stop contacting me.
There's indications Kaylee's father, Steve, had some knowledge of that, but they shut him down and they didn't want him to talk. One of the hallmarks of social media is gaining access to someone else's life. But just how much can you learn from the pictures and videos? Does somebody like Koberger, do they actually think they know the people?
Yes, 100%. This is their entire life, especially if they're not social, if they're not having dates. Their entire world is online.
So
a lot of times,
are they building like parasocial relationships with these people? One-sided?
they're not really leaving the house other than to maybe get groceries or to go to school or to work. All of their social interaction is on social media. And that's where they derive power from.
But sometimes the line between online and the
I
real
don't use
world
social media, but
begins to
YouTube.
blur. In the weeks before the attack, Koberger's cell phone pinged near the house 12 times. According to the reports, he came so close he was even able to connect to the victim's Wi-Fi.
So he knows from looking at the house and in the TikTok video that, okay, there are sliding glass doors that allow access to that house. And if he goes and looks at that house, he's going to see, wow, I can watch them from this little bit of a rise. TikTok only helped him get to that point.
That's how he makes entry. Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah.
Do you think that those 12 times that he's actually at King Road, do you think that he is engaged in their social
pretty close
communication at that moment while he's watching them? Would that be a thrill for somebody like this?
Define thrill. What do you mean by
Well, I think everything is an escalation. You don't go from, I can't get a date, to murdering 4 people. So there's got to be an arc.
So the thrill would be some communication or contact. That's what I'm not seeing.
Or rejections?
I believe that he would have needed something to trigger him, where he got angry and was filled with rage.
We know that he went into the restaurant where Maddie and Xana worked on at least one occasion.
I have not seen anyone say that they knew he existed.
Well, you don't need to see him talking. It's them talking to each other. Hey, what about this nut that showed up at the restaurant tonight? If there was some sort of conversation, she wants tips, she's going to be nice, right?
The girls had other men around them in their lives. So in his eyes, every man existed except for him. And I think that could fill someone with complete rage.
So you don't think he had an ongoing social media conversation with them?
He could have, but have we seen that?
The stuff that you're talking about wouldn't necessarily be visible to us right now.
With the ongoing gag order in the case, investigators have not responded for comment.
She works for News Nation now. Huh. Didn't know that. She worked for
Although it's unknown how many times Koberger crossed paths
Fox or CNN, whichever one that was.
with the victims the night of the crime. He could have been tracking their locations without ever having to leave his apartment in Pullman, Washington. So Chris, there's a thing called geotagging. Can you explain this, and how would this benefit a stalker or a suspect?
Sure. So geotagging is the practice of tagging your location on a social media platform where, like on Instagram, you can just scroll up, click location, and tag the exact building, location, area that you're in. And so if you're doing 10 different stories a day on Instagram, every time you're going to a new location, you could be tagging that location. That's incredibly dangerous because you're broadcasting, here's where I am, here's what I'm doing, and here's who I'm doing it with.
Kids are so open about where they go to school, where they hang out after school, where they live, what their room looks like, what their house looks like, what apps they're on, etc. And if you did have malign intent, you've got the keys to the kingdom.
Engaging at all and letting anybody know anything about your house, your habits, your conduct, your work, your schedule is just an opening to be stalked, burglarized, raped, or murdered.
From that perspective, I would just echo what they're saying, but from a fugitive investigator's point of view, keep putting it out there.
What has Kohberger shared about his own life online? What sites does he frequent? What types of accounts does he follow?
What's his behavioral aspect on social media? How's he talking to people? What's he saying, right?
What
Victims.
time, too?
Times are important.
Is he up at 4 in the morning on social media sites?
And then there are
No,
the
he's
other
cleaning.
apps that the prosecutors have dropped legal process on that they must have some indication he was active on. Tinder, Twitter,
What's a
Dropbox,
Telegram?
Yik Yak, Reddit, Facebook, TikTok. An interesting one to me is this Strava one. Strava is an exercise app. Strava also has a GPS element to it.
During the afternoon of November 13th, 2022,
They also were on that website, VSCO. I don't know if it's still like a website. I'm trying to get on it right now, so it's not letting me, I don't think.
just hours after the murders, Kohberger drove 84 miles to Johnson, Idaho, which butts up against the Nez Perce National Forest. Cell phone towers can place a user in general vicinity, but they can't pinpoint a specific location.
Some of those zones are 20 miles square, but a GPS can be a meter.
Could the GPS coordinates from Strava give authorities more insight into the exact locations he visited?
Johnson, Idaho is a reservoir area. There's quarries up there. That means water. We don't have the knife. We don't have the bloody clothing. He didn't even have a shower curtain in the Washington apartment. There's a lot of evidence missing that would have to be there.
There's been indications that after the murders, he was actually engaging online, correcting people. What kind of a personality would actually engage after you got away from the scene?
A narcissist.
He was involved in this Reddit account where he was putting out, for lack of a better term, disinformation. He's telling people, "No, I don't think it happened at that time of the day. No, they're looking at the wrong type of guy, etc." And it looks very clear that he was trying to shade interest off of anything that could lead to him.
Although law enforcement has not been able to verify the validity of the specific posts, this wouldn't be the first time Kohberger has taken to the social media site to discuss violent crime. In May of 2022, only 6 months before the murders, Kohberger asked criminals to complete an anonymous online survey on Reddit about how and why they break the law. I interviewed somebody that does this and has interviewed 32,000 criminals. He goes, I wouldn't ask half these questions. What was it about this crime survey that just stood out to you that this is odd, it doesn't fit?
Right away, the thing that stands out to me was the timing. This was released apparently in May of 2022, and then the person graduates in June. It was just a flashing red flag there.
Kohberger's approach for gathering data also raised eyebrows.
If you think about the research process, usually has to go through an ethics review board, and that can take weeks, sometimes months. And survey online is a methodology that we use, but it's not one of those that you're going to post and then 100 people are going to come and answer the day after, right? It's a slow process.
Somewhere in the June area, he is reportedly buying a K-bar knife online. And now he has this survey that's active. Is it your opinion that this survey is more personal and or entertainment than it is useful schoolwork?
It does look like it was posted through pretty bona fide software that we use for survey methodology. It has the institutional logo on it. It looks very official, but I would say that's my opinion that it wasn't used for his master's research.
There's a few questions that kind of jump out at me. You're doing a survey to talk to convicted criminals or people that got away with a crime, but he's saying things that have to do with the planning and execution of the crime, which to me are a little odd. When did you first make contact? When did you see them? How did you get inside? It speaks of somebody almost trying to have somebody either educate them or excite him.
I was curious as well about those questions, and just for the sake of scientific inquiry, I try to imagine, is there any scenario in which I would be asking those questions? And I couldn't really come up with a reason.
Kohberger is actually fantasizing about the crime he commits. He wants to be reinforced that these people are out there that haven't been caught doing his survey, and reinforce that I can commit this crime and then I will not be caught.
And the thing about fantasy is not something that just comes out of nowhere, right? It's something that usually lives in the person's mind for a long time, and it takes different shapes and forms. When you're talking about personality traits, it's not something that you just see a shift when you're 28. You see a lot of those antisocial, narcissistic, borderline traits from a young age, and then they just really evolve over the years.
And on this survey, he's asking criminals, how you feel? Are you depressed? How do you feel after the crime, before the crime? Is he actually looking for a group of people that he can identify with? Because he certainly can't identify with mainstream America.
It could be an aspect of trying to normalize how one feels, right? Because if other people feel the same way, then I must be okay. It could even be a way of just finding that sense of community, because two brains are better than one. If they are interacting with other folks who have criminal thinking as well, they might feel less odd, and they also might find an opportunity to just bounce ideas back and forth.
Is this less about a survey to find out something intellectually about violators, or more a how to get away with something or actually execute something?
Yeah, because to me, these questions, they are for steps, right? That's what the questions are asking. So in a way, it's almost like, what is your recipe?
Even stranger, how would Kohberger know if the individuals responding to his questions were actually criminals? Wouldn't false data interfere with his research?
This is posted on social media. Who knows who's answering this, right? So in terms of rigor in research, is this really where I want to go to tap into the information?
You could get somebody that's 14 years old that's got a lot of good ideas because they've read and watched way too much TV, and so they throw an idea out. He might just be looking for great ideas that he can include in his plan that maybe he forgot or he didn't think of.
Is it something that it was a precursor to refine a plan? Was it something that served perhaps the idea of getting validation or connecting with others who think alike? Or maybe it's all of the above.
How did you get in? How did you find the victim? Did you go in a window? Did you go through a locked door? Did you use a pass key?
If that's only a criminology study, that would make sense to me if it stops there. But you're asking, how are people feeling? What were people thinking about when they decided the target? You're screening for depression. You're screening for mental illness. You're screening for personality traits. That is not something that we would normally do.
And most likely, not something an ethics board would even sign off on.
I don't think my ethics board would approve that survey because it doesn't have much clarity. And usually an ethics board, they will be pretty picky about every single question. They want to see how that is reverting or coming back to the original intent of the study.
You've been highly informative about this whole survey, and asking you this may be unfair, but do you think that Kohberger will testify on his own behalf in this case?
I anticipate that.
No.
Yes.
Can somebody with his
not a fat
mental
chance in hell.
defect,
The dude wouldn't even stand up and say, I'm not guilty. Do we think that he's going to testify? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to say a word. I don't think he's going to say a damn word. I think he's too much of a coward to get up on that stand and say, yeah, my name is Brian Koberger, and I was just out driving around looking at the stars. And then they're going to pull up the weather, and it's going to show that it was cloudy, overcast, freezing that night. And it's not like he has like a sunroof or something to where he can even look at the stars. He has to get out of his car. It was freezing that night. Craziness.
Because
I mean, I would have said he would have been better off saying, I don't know what I was doing. I was probably at home. I mean, and then if they're like, oh, your phone was driving around, he'd be like, I guess I was driving around. I don't know what I was doing on that day. Like, I would just play it off like I didn't know.
Anybody that
be
will
better
commit a
than
crime like
driving
this has a
around.
mental defect, can get up on the stand
Yeah,
and effectively defend himself and convince a jury that he is, one, not crazy, and two, not the killer.
I don't necessarily think that someone to commit this type of crime needs to be mentally ill. I think it's important for us to separate mental illness from sadism and psychopathy. It's easier for us to cope in day-to-day society with the notion that only quote-unquote crazy or mentally ill people can do this, when it could be your coworker or your classmate.
They're just waiting out to act what they've always felt.
Those who are the true, pure psychopath, there's no treating it.
So let's return to the Moscow murder.
Alec
So
Murdaugh, yeah.
Koberger goes from being a rejected teenager to a 28-year-old graduate student. We didn't see how he actually...
I guess if this doesn't, like, if things aren't going his way or something, he might get up there and testify. But I just don't see him doing it. I mean, I hope he does. I hope he does. That'd be great. That'd make a great live, because we'll be watching it. I'd love to see him go up there. I'd love to see him go up there and look like Alec Murdaugh did. A flubbering, blubbering mess of nothing. I mean, but Alec Murdaugh was getting on my nerves with the popping the freaking mints. I thought it was pills when he first did it. I was like, what is he taking? But seriously, how many mints did he take? Like, pop in his mouth? I would say through the whole trial, 500 or more.
really graduated from being rejected to obsession. There's no killing of small animals, or there's none of this stuff we see with serial killers. There's none of this conduct, prostitutes hanging around certain areas. Then all of a sudden he acts.
I think we do see a course of conduct. It just may not involve killing an animal or prostitutes.
How many cases do you think where the social media is connected to a violent crime that are not pursued and prosecuted?
Thousands and thousands of cases. Clubhouse was a social audio app where people would connect in real time, almost like a live podcast. Twitter Spaces has the same feature.
We don't have the Clubhouse app no more?
Now, there were numerous times where users like myself reached out and said there's stalking taking place. Someone is really going to get hurt. A woman and her husband were killed by a stalker, and it was connected to Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And that was ignored. But that's because I don't think the actual stalking definition really adds up in a social media driven world, because a lot of times you don't have that violent threat. You need that violent threat in order for someone to pursue charges or take this seriously.
That's right. It even gets even murkier because, like, what is a threat? In some circuits, the metric is, does the person feel threatened? In other circuits, does it look like essentially a threat to a jury, a judge, et cetera?
Prosecutor is going to get out of bed to prosecute a case like that.
There's too much you can't attribute to a face. You're attributing them to a computer, and they can just simply say, somebody stole my computer, somebody stole my phone. When you have so much data being exchanged, how does law enforcement actually sift it out and find the suspect? It's 10 times worse than a needle in a haystack.
Generally, the leading aspect of the entire case comes out of the real world. Sure, some cases develop purely cyber, but the Koberger paradigm is far more common, which is, we're looking at this person for various other reasons. As part of it, let's have a look at this person's social media.
They've got into his computer and they've broken that down, the hard drive. And I think he's probably reached out in the past to multiple females.
One of the things that's interesting in this case is when you look at the search warrants or subpoenas, you don't actually see one for OpenAI. which is fascinating. So I don't know if that means that ChatGPT wasn't actually used on his phone.
Explain really, where is the crossover between artificial intelligence?
People look at AI or ChatGPT almost as their therapist, but so much more than searching. This is the type of thing where if he was using AI, he could have been asking very detailed questions, much more so than we even see on Reddit. So we just don't know yet because that hasn't been explored.
So in kind of wrapping up, I can see the value social media has for law enforcement in two ways. To document somebody like Koberger, like when he became active, how he stalked people, how he identified people, and a clearinghouse for clues. Where are we going with social media?
You don't just have to be a convicted murderer for someone to psychologically profile you and everything that you're doing on social media. When you actually read through that long list of everything that they're requesting, most people don't really think about that when they are using all these devices. And granted, this is not going to happen to everyone, but if it does, you are documenting your life and putting it out there for anyone to take and use against you in a court of law. And I think that people really need to consider that before they broadcast their life online. What is the price of being a social media influencer?
Well, I think the case, it's going to actually set some standard for social media.
We talked about it in the first session that we did for Fox Nation, that a lot of this was going to happen in the digital world. And I think we even said this is going to be the social media murders.
When did he say that? Says none of the panel experts are involved in Kohlberger's murder investigation or legal proceedings. All opinions are based on publicly available information, just like my information that I give to you. Now, did everybody see in the beginning of the live the lady that was given the hearts to Kohlberger, behind Kohlberger? In court yesterday, Brian has a new love interest. She says she was doing this hearts for her 13-year-old son, but I don't believe that. Why would you be that? Why would you be that? Not smart. That's not smart. What would make you think that's okay to do in a courtroom ever? Lady, especially behind the defendant. You're right behind the defendant. Maybe you could have done like one of these numbers, like I love you, like that. That probably would have been better than just getting you with the straight heart. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't, what Brian? Which Brian? Profiling people on social media. I feel called out. So we got this lady. I don't know. She's doing a little heart. So she's like doing the heart thing right behind him. Let me see. I think I can zoom in. Yeah, there we go. She's just real blurry, but you can see her little heart-shaped hand. She ain't like trying to, give out the help or anything. But the cop was like right beside her. So I don't know how he didn't get it, but apparently she's saying, I don't know if this was even her, but there's a person that's like connected to this. They attached a message and they said it was from her. And she said that she was sending it to her 13-year-old child. Why would your 13-year-old child, right? 13-year-old child be watching a Brian Kohlberger court hearing? Why? That doesn't make any sense now that I'm thinking about that. That makes no sense. Why would you let your 13? I mean, why would you be watching that? If I was a 13-year-old kid, I would have no interest. I mean, if I was a boy, I would have no interest in this. Like, I would be out, like, at school or going to find little girls to hang out with or something. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, so she's a Kohlberger pro-burger. Oh, I was reading yours. I don't know who it is. She'll want to marry BK in prison. Oh my gosh, get conjugal visits. Do they have them in Idaho? Some places do. Like some people, like some places do. PJs, are you guys talking about like blind dates? Because I could tell you. Stare at his hair. He looked like Mo. Are you talking Mo of the Three Stooges? Please tell me that's what you're saying. Oh my good lordy. I met Vincent on Tinder. I mean, I got lucky. I got real lucky. I don't even remember how we talked. I want to try to break back into my old Tinder account, but I can't figure out. I haven't tried, but I probably can't figure out the password anyway. Actually, I probably could. Because I'm one of those people, like back in the day, I only use like 1 or 2 passwords. But I don't know if Vincent can break back into his, but I thought it'd be cute to be able to like see our messages to each other back 9 years, 10 years ago. Cause like, I don't know what I said to him. Probably nothing. Probably nothing much. I mean. So Wade Wilson has an iPad and so does Alec Murdaugh. Did you get to see the nipple shots, the non-nipples on Alec Murdaugh? He was posting, by the time the ink was like drying on his paperwork, he was taking selfies with the iPad with no shirt on. It was just, you don't want to see it. I was like, where's his nipples? Man. Oh, only California, New York, and maybe Connecticut. Man, that's crazy. I can't believe they still allow conjugals. Really? He got caught with love letters? Oh, I have to look it up. If you have the link, just send, if you want to send it to my email, send it to my email, and then I'll play it on tomorrow night's live. Murdoch probably does have an OnlyFans. Oh God, he probably do. Ew. People be paying for that. Not me, Alec. Not me. You can do a lot with the iPad, yeah. Why do they get iPads? It's so crazy to me. But then they can't have cell phones. Just give them cell phones at this point. You know what I mean? Oh, wow. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at that for sure, yeah. Because dang, Brian got caught. Brian, you better stop that. I know we pay for them. That's weird. I mean, like, pay for the conjugals, I was thinking, but you're talking about the iPad. I'm thinking about the conjugal business. I'm like, what if someone gets hurt during one of those? I don't know. Very weird. But I think I signed up for one of those sites where you can call someone. So I'm trying to call. I'm trying to get somebody to. I wrote a letter to somebody and they didn't write me back. It was for my cousin, and so I'm going to write them again. I'm going to write them again until they write me back, and then I might send a stamp this time because maybe they don't have a stamp. Maybe they broke and they don't have a stamp in there. You know what I mean? So yeah. But I'm going to go over her case sometime soon, my cousin's case. But I still have a lot to look up. So, or I have not a lot, but I have some stuff to get. But thank you for being here with me tonight. I appreciate it so much. I'm sure this lady is appreciating being on, the screen that long. If she was giving the hearts to her kid, but she said, I know I'm writing him a letter now. I want answers. I thought about writing him a letter before, but I didn't know what I'd say. Hey, my name's Tanya. I'm not a YouTube creator. I'm not any of that stuff. I don't know what I would say. That'd be funny though. But I should write him. We should write him a letter on the next live. I'm actually gonna write that. I'm gonna write that down because I have like something on here anyway for him. So write him a letter. We could just write him a letter. Or shoot, if we can get his little email address in the jail, maybe they will be able to do it. I'll be like, hello. But my handwriting is bad. We might need someone else to write it. Because I want it to be like real super cute and girly, little hearts, Don't make us get into be like Broad Bride's girl. Where's she at when you need her? You know, where's she at? But thank you guys for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. If you guys don't mind, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out. We're trying to get up to 20,000 subscribers. We're at 19,000 something. We're getting there. I'm just patiently waiting. I think once we hit, I think when we first started the channel, Vincent said 100,000 subscribers, but I think I got him down to like 25,000, and he said he would come on and do like a little live with me, but I know he's going to back out of it. So we're going to get to that, and he's going to be like, oh, I'll change my mind. We're not going to let him. So make sure you're subscribed. You hit the like button, all the things, and I'll be back on tomorrow night to do a live with you guys. I may be on tomorrow during the day. You never know with me. It'll be on the second channel though, probably like the other channel, Unfiltered with Tanya. But if I do come on, I'll put something on the community tab. But I'll see you guys all later. Have a wonderful evening and have a good Friday. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop.